Hi everyone, welcome to the Run Testers and the latest in our series of running kit essentials where we reveal our most loved running gear. From shoes and shorts and hats to headphones, these are the items of running gear that we come back to time and time again. And for this video, I've caught up with the newest member of the Running Tester team, Jill, to find out a little bit more about her running, how she uses kit, and to go through her top picks for those running kit essentials. Welcome Jill, how's it going?
All right, thank you. A little bit chilly, and I'm in post-marathon recovery mode, so I just really want to get out running, and I'm not. I'm being kept on the leash at the moment.
Yeah, you're being good and resting at the moment. So you talk us through what the marathon was.
Yeah, so I did Valencia Marathon, which obviously Mr. Nick Harris-Fry was also at as well, and smashed out a 2:29. I was going for a PB, didn't quite make it, but had a good race in various other ways. You know, you get a bit of kind of clarity further down the line, don't you? But yeah, Valencia Marathon a week and a bit ago. So yeah, I'm at that stage where I want to get out running, and I get told off if I go running too much too soon.
You work with a coach then, and you've got someone who keeps you on a tight leash.
Yeah. I got my first coach like years ago, and for the main reason was to stop me running too much. Because I love running and I will just churn out miles and miles and miles. And my first coach said, yeah, you basically battered your way to a PB by just like running lots, but there was no structure to it. So that's kind of the reason why I got my first coach. I now have a coach called Andy Hobdell, who's the same as Nick has. And so, yeah, he keeps me kind of on a leash, and I whinge at him and say, Andy, I want to run more. But yeah, so he mixes it up and makes me do things that I wouldn't otherwise do if I didn't have someone guiding me.
And how long have you actually been running? When did you start, and kind of what led you into the kind of the running?
Yeah, I started in, I think it was 2009 or 10. So my first marathon was 2011. I did one race before that. And I started running because I'd come out of uni and I was in my first job in London, and I ran to catch a train, and I got out of breath running down the platform. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm like 21. I can't even run to catch a train without getting out of breath. And I was skint. I was in my first job in London. So I started running around the block. And it just kind of snowballed from there. And then I started doing some shift work as well. So I work in broadcast in my day job, when I'm not wittering on about running. And so I was doing shift work, and so people weren't around during the day. So I would just go out for long runs along Regent's Canal and gradually did more and more. And then my now husband decided that he wanted to run a marathon, and we both wanted to, but we couldn't be faffed with getting in the ballot for London. So he spent ages researching the fastest, flattest marathon in the UK that had easy entry, which turned out to be Mablethorpe Marathon, which was cute. It's basically run by the local WI. Had like a little ice cream van at the end and stuff like that. And so we went and ran that on an unseasonably hot October day in 2011, and got a qualifying time for London so that we didn't have to enter the ballot. So that was kind of how it all began, really. No sensible person goes straight into marathons, but apparently I do.
And to run a qualifying time in your first for London, that's incredible. And I guess once you're into London, if you can keep those times up, it's sort of it's a ticket to run every year, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Although ironically, after that first year that I ran London, I then missed the deadline the next year because I was an idiot and I wasn't paying attention. So I went and did instead. But yeah, it does. It kind of keeps rolling on.
And if you roll on, I guess we're 12 years, is it? 11, 12 years on from that. How would you sort of describe your kind of running and where it is now? What kind of runner are you? Do we find you out on the road still chasing marathon times, or do you like to go to the trails, or are you short, are you long? What do you prefer, and what kind of things will we find you doing?
I still love marathons. Marathons are still my joy. I love those long runs, but the challenge of the pace as well. I like the combination of the two. That said, I basically just like running on all its forms. Like I really want to get some of my shorter times down, and I love having a bash at like a track race or something like that. I'm awful at them, but I love it. I love the challenge of it. And then I've done ultras in the past. I've done only two, like the North Downs Way 50, and again, absolutely love that. Fantastic. Like I'd love to try doing like more in the mountains, things like that. I'm terrible at hills, but I'd like to try. So yeah, I love the variety, to be honest. But I like ticking a box And so road training appeals to me because I can say, I want to hit that pace. I'm going to try and hit that pace at that time. And that kind of appeals to the box ticker in me.
Maybe in a few years' time, maybe you'd sort of look, would you go like big longer distances up to the sort of 100-mile ultras, or we might find you tackling some of the more kind of famous sort of mountain trail races at some point?
I would actually really like to try a ultra on the track, or a road ultra as well. I think that would be really interesting. I'd love to do a 100-mile trail. I think just the fascination of what goes through your mind and how you can push through and things like that. I mean, but actually, hopefully you'll appreciate this with your trip down the Danube. There is a trail that goes across Scotland called the John Muir Way, which goes right from one side to the other. And one day I'd love to run that. I'd love to run from one side of Scotland to the other. I think that'd be really cool. The adventure appeals as much as the times, but I also love chasing times. But yeah, I'd like to have more adventures. But I've also got a family and lots of other commitments in my life who are equally, if not more, well, they are more important. So these things have to slot into their place as well.
Cool. And then I've got one more question I want to ask before we get into the kit stuff, which is we're going to look through your essentials and how kind of those got help with the running that you've just described. But so imagine you've got basically 10 minutes before the end of the world. You're sat with someone probably having a really large glass of wine or something or whatever, a coffee, and you've got 10 minutes to tell them about one race that you've run that's kind of the epic moment in your kind of running history so far. What's that race and why do you want to tell that story?
Yeah, so it depends. Like, if it's the end of the world, then they're not going to get a chance to run it, are they? This is the thing. So I was thinking about this because there's one race which I'm like, if you're going to run it, and I've done this one on the Run Testers like top races thing, which was the Jurassic Maverick race on the Jurassic Coast. Which is just beautiful. Like, you go up over Old Harry Rocks, all that kind of stuff, and just absolutely gorgeous. And I just loved it. And I was terrified. It was only like my second trail race, and it was just so much fun. There was no pressure. It was absolutely glorious. But then, obviously from a kind of self-aggrandizement way, then my PB race in Florence would have to be the one that I'm like, I don't remember it hurting that much, and yet somehow it all kind of flowed. And this was pre-carbon plate shoes as well, so there's a little bit of me that is like, I see. So like a beautiful race, a beautiful course, not super flat. It all just kind of clicked. That thing where you go through halfway, and my husband was there, and he was kind of looking at me like, "What the heck do you think you're doing? There's no way you're going to keep that pace up." And I was like, it feels fine. I'm going to carry on going. And it all kind of came together. So those sorts of races, they come rare in your running career, I think.
You get swept up in the flow, like everything's just feeling right, and I know exactly those races. Although I do definitely think you kind of shut out over a period of time. You sort of shut out how much it actually hurt towards the end. But PB races are often the ones that we pick as our kind of our favourites. But speaking of PBs, final thing, if you just rattle us quickly through your PBs for the marathon, half, 10k, and 5, that'd be great. Just so people know exactly how fast you go, because you do go fast.
Yeah, so my marathon PB from Florence is back from 2016, so that's 2:53:22. However, that's before I had my little boy. I've since run 2 seconds off that, so that was 2019. So I kind of have a pre and post PB, as it were, and I think that's helpful to people to kind of to see that. So that's the marathon. My half marathon is 1:24 flat, which I set this year. My 10k is, now this is where I can't remember because I think it is, 38:24. So that's also 2019. And then my 5k was this year. That's 1858. Sorry, 1858.
Actually, if we raced, it'd be a very close race. They're almost bang on. So we'd be almost at the same point. So that's incredible running. I mean, yeah, and then I guess the one thing that we wanted to sort of help with the people is then to sort of share the bits of kit that you go back to time and time again. These are bits of kit that as runners that we really kind of love. They don't have to be new, they don't have to be particularly fancy, but these are the essentials that you've used over the years, and you'll kind of turn to time and time again as the old kind of reliable old faithfuls that fit into your kit. So if we get into that, do you want to take us through what your first pick is?
Yeah, so my first one This good old stalwart, the running bra. So this is the Runderwear. It's their basic, it's their kind of standard one. You maybe not able to see, but it's very faded and well worn. I mean, I think I've had this for like 8 years or something, and it's still going strong. I've got like 5 of the things, and I keep rotating them around, and it's still going. Like I just noticed the other day, it's just starting. There's starting to be some elastic coming out now after like 8-9 years, which is pretty good going, really. And it's pretty good value for the price it is. There are some good other running bras around there which I've started to test, but to be honest, until the last year, I've never even touched anything else because that one just works so well. It's the right amount of support without being too tight, which is a real hard balance to get with a running bra. And it's easy to get on and off again, which if you've got the right amount of support, you can end up with something which is like a straitjacket trying to get out of it at the end of the end of the run, which is like not what you want when you just want to get in the shower. So it's actually a surprisingly hard balance to find. So yes, Runderwear's bra is my first go-to one that always comes out of my cupboard for every single run.
As a guy, this is something. It's a piece of kit that I'm quite thankful that I don't have to go hunting for. I sort of see comments and people searching for the right item, and it feels like a very, very important piece of kit to get absolutely bang on right. So if you find one that works, this is one thing you don't want, they sort of change them through the generations. You want them to keep it as it is, right?
Chafing obviously is a massive problem, and the last thing you want is any chafing, either like there on your kind of chest bone, you can get it if it's wrong, or kind of around under your arms and stuff. And that's the kind of thing where as soon as you get sweaty, it's really tricky. So I have actually got a different top, it's a bra but a crop that I've raced in recently, which is really comfortable, but it's not got quite the same amount of support, so I wouldn't want to use it every single day. And it is, like you say, there's so much that can go wrong because there's so much seaming that needs to be involved to give you that support, that to then do it without causing any kind of chafing is really important. And that's the problem. Once you found one, you don't really want to move away from it because the jeopardy is high.
My equivalent of that is like a base layer pair of shorts, or a pair of even a pair of running tights that I'm just testing a bunch at the moment. That if you find them that don't chafe, that's it.
Yeah, talking of shorts, it's the this actually, you were saying it doesn't have to be new stuff, but these are new to me this year, but they've just like totally absolutely jumped into my favorites. It's the On Running sprint shorts. So I always used to race in the Nike Rival shorts, and they were kind of split shorts, and they had almost like a flip belt built in around the waistband, and Nike discontinued them, and I spent ages trying to find something that I liked as much. And I was at Night of 10,000 meter PBs this year, and On Running had a stall there, and I was looking at their shorts, and it was their sprinter shorts, for people who run fast and short distances. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. They've got like a proper waistband bit that you can put things in. But they're cycling shorts, they're a bit tight. I don't really want to wear cycling shorts, but I got a pair to try, and they are the most comfortable thing, and they've totally converted me to the cycling short style of running shorts. So comfortable. You can stick stuff in your side pockets, around your waist. They don't go anywhere. There's no chafing. I've raced all my races in them since I got them. Cross country, like long training runs, everything. Just absolutely brilliant. And again, like no signs of wear yet, and yet they're getting washed like, sorry, environment, but like, at least 4 times a week, basically. So, yeah, they're brilliant. Really love them.
So that's some all-important apparel covered, but you've got something else. Your third pick is probably a piece of kit that all runners now sort of reach for at one time or another. And what's the one that you've chosen?
Yeah, it's the watch, obviously, because I'm a road runner and I love times and analysing splits and all sorts. The watch has to be it, because if it's not on Strava, it didn't happen. So up until very recently, it would have been the Garmin Vivo Active 3. I got it just because it was good value for money for what it is, to be honest. I thought at the time I got it as a reconditioned one, and it was a good value for money. You could set up intervals on it, which was a game changer for me when I was kind of trying to go out and do slightly more complicated workouts where I didn't want to have to think about the fact that I was doing, an 800, then a 400, then a 200 or whatever. So it really made a difference. And it wasn't too big either. As a running watch, it wasn't too chunky on my wrist because I've got obviously like marathon runners' wrists, so I don't want anything huge. However, recently, because of the run testers, I've had the Garmin 255 to review. and to just kind of use day to day in training. And I've got the 255S, in fact, which is even smaller than my Vivo Active, so even better because it doesn't look too chunky again. And it's got a manual lap button, which is a game changer because trying to do track sessions with a touchscreen lap button is a pain in the backside. And also, again, it's got all these sort of HRV and training readiness and stuff like that, which for someone who loves looking at stats and things, is kind of nice. Like, I know that some of that isn't that reliable at the moment, but it appeals to the geek in me. So yeah, those two, I think, and I know that the 255, like, you know, won the award. It's just really good value for money for what it is. I don't think there's anything more that I need a watch to do at the moment. Maybe like some map stuff, but like mostly I don't really need that. You know, it's got enough of it to keep me going. So that's the thing that is on my wrist 24/7 anyway, and definitely when I go out for a run.
And yeah, I guess the 255, it's, you know, it's got a pretty solid battery life. The GPS is solid as well. I think that's one that we kind of recommend often as a almost like your all-rounder for people who are entry level, who know that their running is going to grow a little bit if you're just starting out, just because it kind of hits that sweet spot of I guess of the feature set and the amount of information you're delivered, and then the value for money and the design. You know, it's got the whole package, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if I was saying to someone who was kind of just, you know, had started sort of thinking about training for something in particular, I would definitely recommend the 255 because it's so easy to use. You know, you don't need to use all the complicated stuff, but I think it's going to take a long while to grow out of.
And there was one more item that I saw you popped on the list when we were in the notes for to do this call. And I think we should include it because I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I asked if I could include porridge or muesli as my top pick, because basically I wouldn't function without it. Particularly Marks and Spencer's luxury fruit and nut muesli is the bomb. It's amazing because it's got lots of dried fruit in it, so it's great actually for extra carbs and sugar and stuff, but without kind of going down the jam route. And the nuts for the protein and stuff like that. So it is genuinely a really good fuel, and I just love it. And I think, you know, like there's nothing nicer than like coming in after a run and having like a big bowl of stodgy porridge, or like before you go and then letting it sit and then going out for a nice long run and stuff. And I genuinely wouldn't function without cereal. And when you're in the middle of marathon training as well, like the amount of times that I'll get to 10 o'clock and be like, no, I'm hungry again, I'm going for a bowl of cereal. So I think it is an essential when you're running.
I love that. I love that. I actually, one of the guys who ran with me along the Danube for a stretch was from Switzerland, and he told me about a company. It's a startup that's made a huge amount of cash where you can basically customize your own muesli. There's like choose from a list of sort of 100 ingredients, and you can make your own, and they send it to you in your own package. So yeah, I can't remember what that is. I'll find out and put a link in the caption below to what that was. But that sounded pretty magic as well. Well, listen, Jill, thank you very much for taking us through all of those picks. There's some really great gear in there, and I think some really good essentials. Whether you know wherever you are on your kind of running journey, it's been fascinating to hear about how you started, where you're at now, and hopefully that gives everyone out there who's watching a little bit of context for when you're watching the reviews that Jill is involved on the channel, how she's using the gear and what she's kind of motivated by in her running. So yeah, thanks very much for joining us.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for letting me test so much fun gear. It's great to give it all a run out.
And thanks to everyone out there for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Ring that bell so you can hear about all the reviews that Jill's going to do coming up on the channel. Those will be sort of fired to you and get alerts and notifications. So that's big and helpful for us. And yeah, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, and we will see you again soon on the Run Testers.